So recently, Finn McKenty was in an interview where he admitted this whole time that he didn't really care about the stuff he was talking about, but instead just wanted to make a quick buck. And that's all he did all this for, and he was just like, I'm done with this, I got my buck, and now I'm out. And, ever since that announcement, it just quite disgusts me to know that this whole time that this guy who, I wasn't like a big fan of him or anything. I knew some guys from my like high school who were into him, who were like, oh, he talks about like metal and punk, so you must like him. I'm like, no, he gives them absolute dog shit takes on anything that isn't related to metalcore or pop punk. I'm not going to torture myself with that. Hell, if I wanted to learn more about pop punk, I could watch something on the Ramones, and I think I'd get a more informed, like, understanding of pop punk than anything Finn McKenty's talked about. Another thing that kind of surprised me too is the fact that everyone's like, "Oh, he was Sergeant D from Metal Sucks." I kind of thought everyone knew that. Like, I know I'm a bit younger, but I'm the type of young that's like chronically online. So if I learn about something, there's a good chance that, I learn more about it. That's half and half because there are some things that, I'll know very niche shit about, and everyone will be like, how the fuck do you know that? Where the fuck did you learn that? I'm like, I don't even remember. It was like 4 years ago on some weird blogspot website that I can't find. And then there will be some shit that everyone knows. I'll be like, I did not know that until now. What the fuck? Why didn't you tell me? But this is one thing that I always knew, and it was the fact that Finn McKenty was Sergeant D, and the name of like the pseudonym that he went by when he did Metal Sucks. The one reason I know that is because I watched a Page Fire video on slam death metal, the history of it. And how does Finn McKenty come into this? Well, it comes from the fact that he created a term actually for a type of slam. And this wasn't based on how the slams sound. Because slam death metal, it's brutal death metal with the that kind of stuff. That's slam death metal. That stuff. And the reason why I knew Finn McKenty from this was because back in the day, he created a term for a specific subsection of slam bands, mostly comprised of guys who were white or seemed white and dressed more urban, and he would refer to them as WIGGER slam. So yeah, that's the stuff Finn McKenty was known for on the internet before he did his shitty little Ronnie Radke dick riding videos. It's kind of not surprising that he does defend Ronnie Radke, because Ronnie Radke is an annoying white guy who's washed up and complains about wokeness and shit like that. And it's like, gee, a washed up pop punk artist who has some pretty questionable, like, incidents and also complains about wokeness? Why does Finn McKenty like this guy so much? Oh yeah, because Finn McKenty is married to a woman whose whole content is just about her complaining about things she finds woke. And this woman that he's married to, turns out she wasn't even a woman when they met. Yeah, that's right. Finn McKenty, he gets up to some of that EDP activity, if you know what I mean. A favorite pastime of the average pop punk fan. By that I mean dating underage girls. Finn McKenty started dating this girl when she was 16, and he was in his late 20s. Now, the thing is, like, it would be like one thing if Finn was like 18 and she was 16, like, in that case, yeah, Finn would be an adult and it'd be like, adult minor, but it wouldn't be like like an age gap that's like illegal and gross and shit. Because like 18, 16, that's what, 2 years? Like sophomore, senior? Sure, it's, it is a difference, but it's not like one that's like problematic, I'd say. But when you're 28, what is there in 16-year-olds that you're like not seeing in anyone else? That's just my question. Like, if you're 18 and dating a 16-year-old, that's probably because you go to school with them, or you know them from like a job, you're in a spot where you're going to meet people around your age. I'm just wondering, where is Finn McKenty going to where he's finding just a random ass 16-year-old? Oh yeah, oh yeah, I remember. He found her on the internet. That's totally not creepy. Uh, so that just leaves another question. Why couldn't this dude just go on a dating app or like a dating website with people his own age? Like, it can't be that hard, man. Well, then again, this guy can't even do 10 minutes of research in the metal genres, so I don't think he's gonna be doing any dating website shit, you know? If he can't even research anything about death metal in the 90s, when it's like right fucking there, like, you could go on Wikipedia, like, literally, like, go to the references, like, in them, and just look up some more shit. And you, by yourself in those 10 minutes, would have a better understanding of death metal than Finn McKenty. You know? Like, I think you'd learn way more just from skimming a Wikipedia article than watching, like, free Finn McKenty videos. That's how bad he is at genuinely talking about these things. And supposedly, this is something he cared about at one point. Maybe it was the 90s, 2000s, I don't fucking know when he really stopped caring for it. I'm not him, you know? I think that's kind of obvious if I'm questioning why the fuck he'd be looking for, 16-year-olds to date at 28. Like, I'm 18, and I'll say it right now, but, like, if you're going after someone who's not even 18 and you're in your 20s, you just need to stop. Like, you just need to stop, okay? You just need to stop. You gotta go. You just gotta get, you know? And it pisses me off, too, because of the shit with Finn McKenty. There's probably a lot of, like, people who are seeing this who are probably now thinking that every single YouTuber who posts about metal or punk is a poser or something because, hey, Finn McKenty was super big and he did it and he's a poser. So, like, and here's the thing, poser is a very overused word, you know? I've been called a poser before. I'm pretty sure a lot of you watching might have been too. But the difference between someone who just gets called a poser and a genuine poser is night and day. You see, I get called a poser by people because I don't just listen to straight metal. I get called a poser because people don't really understand my music taste. You know, those are just misassumptions. But Finn McKenty openly admits that he did this all just for money. Like, he didn't do it for passion or enjoyment or, to share an interest with, a community of people online, a community of netizens who have this very niche interest that's not really accepted or understood by the mainstream. And within this community, one of the biggest guys just openly admits, yeah, I was doing this for money. This was just a cash grab. Like, Finn, I hope that cash grab was fucking worth it, because if you lose all that money in, like, 3 days due to this shit, that would just be fucking hilarious, you know? And I'm kind of not surprised that he ended up being a poser, because the first time I ever found out about his stuff was actually through a YXHim video. I watch YXHim stuff every now and then. I watched it more back then. It isn't appearing on my recommend, though I should. Like, I don't know. I just haven't watched YXHim stuff in a while, but I watched, like, an old video where he's talking about, like, how Finn McKenty just does not understand shit about death metal or, like, black metal or slam. It's just so hilarious to see Finn McKenty just say shit that completely contradicts himself and is just completely wrong in some cases. Like, it's just ridiculous to see how much credibility the punk rock MBA had up until very recently. Like, I was surprised he still had a career, for fuck's sake. Like, that was genuinely the most surprising thing to me, learning that this guy still had a fucking career. I thought he fell off, like, 4 years ago. I don't know, I guess he's so irrelevant, I just didn't give a fuck about him, you know? Which does explain, why he's doing this now. He's basically putting the nail in his coffin, which, is good. I will never have to hear a bad take from Finn McKenty on the Punk Rock MBA YouTube channel, hopefully. But then again, you know, these kinds of bastards love to rebrand themselves. And I know the shit that, like, his former underage girlfriend, now wife, post. I think he might do like that weird right-wing rebrand. I think that he might try that shit. Like, that is honestly the direction I've been seeing him go. Because he's been making like I checked his channel because I was like, what is he up to? And it's like, metal is all boring now. I'm like, it's only boring because you don't actually listen to it. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, this guy has literally, he's like, I'm so bored, I don't know what to talk about. Maybe listen to the actual shit then. Listen to it. Then you'd have something to talk about. Like, oh my god, is it that hard? Well, it's Finn McKenty. He's just looking for money. He doesn't actually want to put in any effort, you know? He doesn't actually want to do the hard work of actually being in the scene and knowing about bands and talking about them and giving his own opinion. He can't take criticism. That's his biggest fucking problem. He just can't take criticism. Which, I'm going to say it right now, but if you're posting videos about death metal and black metal, when you are a big fan of metalcore and pop punk and things that are just very much not that, and you're posting it to an audience that does like those genres, that you completely misunderstand and completely just shit talk and misrepresent and get so much wrong about, you're not going to get the warmest reception. You know, like, this is the thing that pisses me off. He's like, I'm not getting the best reception. Well, yeah, maybe it's because you made a video about death metal where you said death metal was getting boring in the 90s. The 90s were like when death metal was having its biggest evolution. Like, there was prog death and roll, black and death metal. There was fucking, like, the thrash was more an 80s thing, honestly. But yeah, there was still, like, death thrash metal. There was, you know, there was that mainstream thrash stuff, like, which basically wasn't thrash. It's basically, like, sellout thrash. You know, the kind where they're like, fuck authority, but they won't say what authority it is because they want it to be as marketable to anyone with a rebellious streak in their bone. But, you know, oftentimes these people don't have the political awareness to know who the authority they're rebelling against should be. So many times you get, like, conservatives who will be like, I'm being oppressed by gay people who say I can't say slurs, listening to that kind of shit. And it's just hilarious. Because, all in all, just every single, like, all this kind of, like, situation proves is that Finn McKenty never really cared about this stuff. Because if he genuinely cared, because, you know, there are some people who will start doing something. Maybe they don't, they're just unsure of it, or they're not as passionate about it. But, you know, they get into it more over time, and they genuinely love it. But this is not the case with Finn McKenty. He, at some point, went to punk shows. He, at some point, had a zine, but this was all the way back in the 90s. And he also wrote for Metal Sucks, but then again, this was 2000s, 2010s. So there's easily a chance that he hasn't actually given a fuck about anything he's talked about for a decade now, which is quite changes everything up. And it explains very well why his content just felt so shallow. It felt so surface level. I mean, I'd probably get more entertainment out of watching paint dry at that point. Because Finn McKenty's videos, they don't actually have anything of substance after a certain point. It's literally just him pulling shit out his ass and hoping that it sticks. Like, he'll just say anything, and he hopes that the opinion comes across as somewhat coherent, because if he doesn't, he looks like a fucking idiot, and then when people call him out, he gets pissy, he cries, he's like, oh, people are criticizing me. Well, yeah, because you said shit that wasn't even true. Maybe do your fucking research before you post videos. Like, if you're doing this to make money, you're doing a really shitty job at it, you know? Like, honestly, I'm gonna speculate a bit. I think he's just doing this either A, because of, like, the drama about, like, how he met his wife and he doesn't want to ever address that, so he's leaving before it gets too big, or B, he really, you know, was doing it for money, But the thing is that he already lost a lot of it. Like, he's already struggling financially. And he's just saying this to make it seem like he's in a better position. Because it would be quite embarrassing if you had a history as a marketing director at, what was it, like Hollister he was like working at or some shit like that, you know, just all these big department stores he was like a product manager for. Yeah, a product manager for a department store. Real punk rock job there, buddy. So, you know, like, having that history and being bankrupt isn't a good look. So I'm thinking a lot of this might be him lying about his financial situation just to save face. Now, I'm not sure about this. I don't know fully what's going on behind the scenes, but there are many times where when someone is in like some really, you know, they're getting into a sticky situation with their cash, they usually talk like this. They're like, "Oh, you know, I'm just not making any money anymore for some reason. I don't know. Oh yeah, my views also dropped in the last couple of years. That's just a coincidence, you know. I just made all the money I could. I think it's just a thing of face. I really do, you know. But I can't 100% be correct on that. So it's a speculation. But really, everything about Finn McKenty's whole career now is speculation. Because he openly admitted on camera that everything he's done in the last, like, 10 years with this channel that he's built up hundreds of thousands of subscribers with was a lie. So it's like, if he admits his whole channel was a lie, what else is he lying about, you know? This is kind of like the thing with lies, you know? If you admit that your whole channel is a lie, then it's pretty reasonable to assume this guy's probably lying about other things. He's probably lying about where he is. Like, I'm going to admit, he does not sound like a guy who made all the money he needed. He sounds like a guy who is losing money. That's what he sounds like, you know? And I feel like this is all just him saving face. He doesn't want to seem like he lost money or that he's struggling, because he knows if that comes out, people aren't going to be like, "Oh, he left, good riddance." They're going to be like, "Hey, look, this dude who made shitty videos is look, you know." He doesn't want people basking in like that thing, which is, you know, kind of funny but it also does seem reasonable because for him to do that, because he's very sensitive to criticism. And I'm certain if he ever admitted that he was financially struggling, oh boy, the shit that people would say, I don't think he'd last a minute. So that's why he's just saying, "Oh, I made all my money." And with that all off my chest, that's my whole take on this Finn McKenty being a poser situation. What I'm saying is, it wasn't like something I expected, but it's not something I'm surprised by either. And, you know, just with that out of the way, you know, have nothing else to say. I got all off my head. I have split dye hair now. And thanks for watching. Goodbye.